bayan yo vi kon ku ben ti we jen chien dan da pru dan jale pai kon ko pai garan ching tang la doran ne ul julga panya jare we nyong rup kon jen ya nyang kle gol malare ka we ga mayan di torane mayom kabul julga panya jare wenyong rup kone jan ya nyang kale gol malare ka we ga mayan di tarane mayom kabul julga panya jare wenyong rup kone jan ya nyang kale gol malare ka we ga mayan di tarane Nuer adorane, adorane, ejenan wa, adorane. Alkoy daru jagai nuer adorane, adorane, ejenan wa, adorane. Terken mai wudi kelunga chuke ulang ni kekit we kon dikai dial we kon dikai nuar we kon dan mar telara medan we dan na terken mai wudi kelunga chuke ulang ni kekit we kon dikai dial we kon dikai nuar we kon dan mar telara medan we dan obe adoran lengaje we kan dinai urur we laka nirol jendan ga amul al khlauna lengaje away kan dinai urur away laka nirol jendan ga amul al kalona anda cheng won kon ei akwang won kon kan ya nuar tore la kan ting amoran kelu chanong non de nuaran kel pinye chieng won kon ei akwang won kon kan ya nuar tore la kan ting amoran kelu chanong non de nuaran kel pinye chieng won kon ei akwang won kon kan ya nuar tore la kan ting amoran kelu chanong non de nuaran kel pinye chieng wara ngai ko pom de we kan war kan go cha de on yang de jang war ma chat de on yang de jan war ma ayo tieng wara ngai ko pom de we kan war kan go chat de on yang de jan war ma wanyong rup kone jan yanyang kalejol malare kawai dal mayan itarane mayom kabul julga panyajare wanyong rup kone jan yanyang kalejol malare kawai dal mayan itarane mayom kabul julga panyajare wanyong rup kone jan yanyang kalejol malare kawai dal mayan itarane
Hello, Jay.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Very well. Thank you so much for willing to come to this. I think we're going to have a wonderful conversation. And as you see, there's already about 10 people watching. And I think there's going to be a lot more for sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, I'm sorry?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Not a problem. The pleasure and honor is all ours. Now, I will be saying some things in Naath.
Okay.
Naath is the Nuer language, and a lot of our viewers are Nuer. Of course, the vast majority of people understand English. So, because our conversation today is about something that's a broader scope, of course. That's not just about Nuer, but something that is endemic, that's a problem to in all of Africa. I've been in some clubhouse discussions in which people have been talking about what's happening in Nigeria, what's happening in Ethiopia, and it seems to be the same issue. You know, the battle between imperialists and those who value their cultures, their ethnicity, and want to be able to build their own lands and their own regions and their own systems. So that seems to be the big controversy right now in Africa. So yes. I'm going to be going back and forth. Here Marin in Nuer, Tadloy Media Longo, here been a wallet, Kana the Rise Wake Up series. A wallet, right on the demand and Nije, Jay Ramilet TikTok along, Dong Chief, Dong Yen Yen Kabo, Yen Tankun, Yenadalag we get TikTok. And wallet, Venera Kuiko Africa. Tate ja mochana gwel mochaga la gwakel e rolle diren te Africa mochi je cholo toxic diversity konu won kan la na lingi diversity mi gwalong tel me de me je ka ja gwa obna te kel himi mi gwa kame gwa diversity kuma nang na ro keno kalia di te Ethiopia ka gwaji gwa ke na ka Nigeria ka gwaji gwa ke na ka South Sudan kani njenda bo en South Sudan ka Sudan bo ka diversity mi gwa ngunang naro kama we go Europe chilung li choro da dag here diverse ba kwela diverse ko ji joge ku ber weda ba gulen weda jan bne la wala kana je so Jay,
Yes.
maybe a little bit about yourself. Maybe I'll say you're a medical student in New York.
Yes.
And which part of Africa are you from? And specifically, what nation are you from?
All right. So, yes, like you said, I'm a medical student that lives in New York, that lives in New York. And
yes.
I'm from the country we know as Nigeria, of course, right? But my ethnic nationality is Ijo. So I am an Ijo man in Nigeria, what we call Nigeria right now.
Absolutely. And what is the population of the Ijo people?
So we're actually between 18 to 20 million people.
Wow.
Yes, we're the fourth largest ethnic group in Nigeria.
Wow. Now, one of the things that I often like to point out is that like Nuer are about 5 million, maybe 5 to 6 million. And one of the things that irks me is that sometimes people will say, well, the Nuer are a tribe, or we're a tribe, no tribe can leave South Sudan. And they'll refer to African ethnicities as tribes. It's something very annoying to me. So now that you've said this, I hope it makes some people's ears perk up. How can you be a tribe when there's 18 to 20 million of you? So maybe we can answer that. How does it feel for somebody to say that, like, a nation as large as yourselves, you're more than 3/4 the Canadian population? How does it feel to say that the Ijo are a tribe?
So honestly speaking, the way I actually take it as insulting. It's actually very insulting, if you want me to be really honest, because see, tribe is used as something to as something derogatory. It's used as something to belittle you, right? Like like you were saying, if we want to compare my people, okay, let's use my people, Ijo people, 20 million, right? We're larger than Portugal. We're larger than, like, I could start going down a whole list in Europe that we're larger than. Like, it's just too many countries. Iceland, we're larger than Iceland. We're larger than, I could just go down a list, right? And these countries, like, look, I'm calling them countries, right? But you would then call me a tribe. Why? Because you want to make me seem like I'm I'm backward. You want to make it seem like I'm tribal. You want to, that's kind of what justifies me having to be forced with other people in a contraption, right? Because you're saying that I'm a tribe, right? But in actuality, you have nations, right? Even Yugoslavia, they broke up on what? Ethnic lines. See, they called it ethnic nationalities. They didn't call them tribes. Right, but it's only the Africans who call themselves tribes, and they even take it on, and that is actually problematic to me, because Africans, we have to think deeper. We can't just be taking on names that they give us, because we were not calling ourselves tribes. This is even an English word, but we're not calling ourselves tribes. We don't speak English in Africa. We speak our languages.
So if you were to meet a Nuer person, what would you call the Nuer then? You wouldn't call the Nuer a tribe. You would call them a nation.
I'll call them nations. Like, that is your ethnicity, your part of, that's your ethnic nation, like your ethnic national, your part, that's your ethnicity, that's who you are, that's your nation, right? Like Like, yeah, that's a nation. Like, those are the people of that nation, the Nuer nation. That's the kingdom. It's just, it's, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to as opposed to calling ourselves a tribe. Like, no, this is not. We're not a tribe. 5 million people is not a tribe. Iceland is 300,000 to 400,000. Is that a tribe?
Yeah, Iceland is it's actually smaller than a tribe within the Nuer, right? It's actually smaller than some clans within the Nuer. Yeah. So what you're saying seems to be that that if you can say that these Africans are just tribes, then you can belittle their problems, you can smush them together, and like any assemblage, any collection of them should make a nation, they'll say.
Exactly. And that is the whole point behind this whole, because these things are subtle, very subtle. But they're subtle, but they're very effective. And the thing that's killing Africa is these subtleties, right? Because Africans tend to fall in line with these subtleties because they don't think too deep. And anybody who thinks too deep or thinks like kind of goes against the grain to think deeper into certain things, the rest of the Africans will already be coming for them, telling them what you're doing too much, right? So we kind of have a culture that tells each other, relax, 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 right? Meanwhile, us who think deeper into things are the ones who are correct. But guess what? How I know it is. That is why Kwame Nkrumah was where he was, right? That is why the guy from Congo, he ended up how he ended up. Because anybody, right, that thinks deeper and actually thinks into there's something going on here, they start getting negative attention, right? And it's because they're doing something right. That's just the truth.
Right.
That's how I look at it. That's just the truth.
No, absolutely. So when you say toxic diversity, then in relation to the problems of Africa, does the fact that we're mixed together, does that cause any problems? Is that something that explains the issues that we're in? So in 2013, the Nuer people were a victim of a genocide in South Sudan.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, it was quite bad. Thank you. At the time, it started out with about 30 to 50,000 people. It was about 30 to 50,000, more like 30,000 in Juba alone that were killed door to door just because they were Nuer. And then after that, the killing, the number of people who died as a result of famine and all of that was close to around 500,000, the vast majority of which were Nuer. So, and then you see the same thing in the beginning of the state of Zimbabwe. About 30,000 Indibele were killed by Robert Mugabe. You see the same thing right now in Ethiopia with the Tigray and the Amhara. And you also see the same thing in not so rough, but also in Nigeria too, with the worries of seemingly ethnic conflict. You see the same thing everywhere in Africa, most of them, anyways. So could this kind of ethnic, like
most places, Angola, like we can keep going, Angola, Senegal, Congo, let me tell you. Pretty much every single country in sub-Saharan Africa has ethnic tensions. Even the professor from Kenya, I forgot his name, Lumumba. He has a video where he started stating every single ethnic group in every region of Africa, like 2 or 3 countries, and was saying the problems they're having. And he said he was just threading over, like he wasn't going deep enough. Like this thing. Let me tell you something. Africa, right? The Berlin Convention, whatever you call it, right? In the 1800s, right? We have to all understand that the countries were not made to be successful. The countries in Africa were made to kind of do what they're doing right now. Because of that is like, it makes no sense, right? How you have Yoruba people in Nigeria, Benin Republic, Togo, and Ghana. So you're telling me that we have Yoruba people, all of them are brothers and sisters. But if I cross this border, this one is speaking French, right? Yeah, this one, like literally, I've read stories where before these lines were made, right? Brothers were living across separate lines. And when the line was made, now you in this country needs a passport to see your brother. Because in Africa, we a lot of us need passports to go into each other's countries, right? It's now they're trying to do that quote unquote thing where you open free travel or whatever. But for the most part, Africa, you've always needed, and I've traveled around Africa, so I know you always need, if I'm going to Togo, the moment I get to Benin Republic, they're stopping me. I'm going to stay at the border, doing my passport, visa stuff for at least 3 to 4 hours. Then I'm moving to Togo. Then when I'm going to Ghana, another one again, right? And literally, these are people who are brothers. They're literally from the same ethnicity, ethnic nationality, but they cannot even see each other without a passport. So, and this is just one of the problems, because economically, this is where the failure came. Now, you have to realize the people who came and colonized these different countries would always favor one group over the other. Now, if you're in the favored group, what are you going to do? Of course, you're going to keep wanting to be in the favor of the people who are giving you resources, who gave you the power, right? And the people who don't have the population, right, maybe the population number, the people who are the minorities, the ethnic groups, they will always suffer. That's just always the case. If I'm president somewhere, are you going to tell me that I'm not going to help my brother? Before, all these other, we're from the same country, but are you going to force me not to help my brother? That is my obligation in life, is to help my brother, right? So if I'm put in a situation like that, of course, I might even go in there to begin with, like with a good intention or whatever. But guess what? You're human. You have family. You have people from your place, right? You're going to help the people from your place first. And if anything else is left, the people that you like will come first. Will come. But the people you don't like, it's over for them. And humans have biases. So this is why it can't work. It can't work like that, because we have different biases. We have different predispositions. You know, a Yoruba man might like an Edo man before he likes an Ijo man. Or maybe the Yoruba man likes the Ijo man, but he doesn't like the Edo man. The Igbo man might like the Edo man, but he doesn't like the Ijo. You know, it's just like that.
Right.
So it's a human nature.
I just wanted to pull up the Berlin Conference on West Africa. You mentioned it. So maybe you could explain a little bit. It says here on Wikipedia that the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 85, also known as the Congo Conference or West Africa Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa during the new imperialism period and coincided with Germany's sudden emergence as an imperial power. So it was organized by the German, let's say, emperor at the time, Otto von Bismarck, the first chancellor of Germany. Its outcomes, the general act of the Berlin Conference, can be seen as the formalization of the scramble for Africa. So this is where a lot of these African countries were carved up. So in a way, it seems as though these African continents or African maps, these lines are actually not our lines. So these are the men who made up these African countries.
Oh, they're not our lines. Like, listen, there's a story about the Berlin Conference that I laugh about. It's so laughable to me, where the Queen of England or something like that, her niece loved playing in the mountains, right? And that's how they got, like, I guess the Kilimanjaro mountain, that's in Kenya?
Yeah, that's in Kenya.
That's how they got Kenya.
That's how they, so that's how Kenya ended up being a British colony.
Yes, and these are humans. We are humans, right? And we have some little girl, because she liked playing in the mountains and she liked the view. Yeah, they gave it to England. Like, this is literally how laughable the borders they made are. Like, literally. And that's why the problems we have in Africa are the way they are. It's because they didn't put any thought into making Africa, the African nations. Like, they didn't care. Like, it makes no sense at all. But then when we go to Europe, right? They put a lot of thought into how they structured their thing, right? The UK, Britain, for example, look at how they structured it, right? Because every ethnicity, ethnic nationality, whatever you want to call it, they have their little domains, right? And then they come together in the middle, right? You go to France, look at how it is. France is so non-diverse that look at what they do to Muslims. Right? Because
it's just the French in France.
Exactly. And now that because they have Muslims in France, look at how they treat them, because they feel like Islam is not a French thing. And their president will tell you, their president will go on the news and stand behind the people who are hateful, right? Because they're sticking to whatever their values are, right? Whatever their nationality is. But then if an African does that, tries to say that, even before the European says anything, because he conditioned the African man, your own African brother will be coming for you, that you hate Africans, you hate unity. No, I want us to be together. I want all of us to be happy, and we'll really be together when we're happy. Not this shit that's going on in Africa right now. Sorry that I used that word.
That's okay. It could get very passionate. Yes. So what you seem to be saying is that if Africans had maps that we made, because when you look at the faces of these men, these are not African men at all. They're European men. And just the way that they divided up the continent, like, look, these guys are just saying, I'll take this half. But there were already kingdoms and peoples, because even at this time in the 1800s, the great West African empires were still there, were only starting to die off. Had they been stronger, the European powers would not be able to get in. But they were already like sort of on their last legs at the time. So these were carving up hundreds and thousands of people, kingdoms, languages, political structures, civilizations that they were just carving up on a whim. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. On a whim. Like, look at how it started with King Leopold, right? The most evil person, the most evil person, period. Like, when we talk about all these other guys who are evil in history, people always forget King Leopold and what he did to the Congolese. But it started with him, with the Congo Free State. And when the Europeans saw that this guy has gone inland in Africa, because they were always by the water at first. The Portuguese first came, they were always by the water. And then they saw this guy has gone inland and he's getting rubber. He's getting resources, he's getting money. They're like, oh, no, we have to partition this, because now it's starting to, like, people are starting to get money, get resources. No, we have to share our resources, share our land. So whatever resource you get. And that's how they got this, the German guy, Otto
von Bismarck. I think it's this guy, this one right here.
Otto von Bismarck. He's the one that set it up. And then they had this. What's funny? The United States was here.
Was a member. Was here. Yes. Was a member. Was seated here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting. It's very interesting when I learned that they were here. I guess they own. Well, don't want to say they own, but their land was Liberia essentially, right? And that's where they went and just dropped the Africans from America. That's a story for another day. But like this was very arbitrary, very no thought put into it. It's actually like very laughable what they did, and it's very insulting what they did. Like I always come back to insulting because of everything they did indicates, just from reading it and just learning about it, it indicates that they really didn't see us as humans. We weren't humans. We were not a factor.
So we were just like animals living in the land. So the way you would divide up
perfect. The way you would divide up a safari. Right. The way it's like, you know what? My animals to hunt are right there, and this is the fence. Okay, you can have the rest of that other land and make your fence, and whatever animals are there are yours, because essentially that's what ended up happening.
Right. Huh. So now I'd like to ask you a question. How does all of this stuff, these radically diverse states, how does it affect our development? Because if you look at Africa right now, much of Africa is behind in terms of development. So if you look at Asia, there's at least one country in Asia. There's many countries in Asia, quite a few, that have space programs. Of course, in the Western world. But I don't see an African country, certainly not a sub-Saharan African country, with a robust space program. Just if you use that space program as a litmus test for how developed the people are.
Oh, yes.
The vast majority of our people are still hungry, still lack a lot of the basic needs, still are unhealthy. So we can't even develop strong enough economies in industries in order to compete with the rest of the world. So how does this toxic diversity, because I think you've done a good job of explaining that it's throughout the continent. So it's not just a Nuer problem. It's a problem for people in the West. It's a problem for people in the North, the South. Maybe the Northerners, we can sort of say they're not.
In their own,
exactly. Yeah. So, but we talk about Black Africa, and certainly that seems to be the problem. So maybe you could answer the question: how do you see this toxic diversity as affecting our development? Is it holding us back?
Honestly, it is the reason. And I'm not saying we don't have other problems, right? Because if you ask the average African, this is average African, what is the problem with Africa? You know what they'll say? Our leaders.
Yeah, they'll say our leaders, exactly. They say we have bad leaders. We just need new leaders.
Like what? Okay, go and put whatever leader you think is good, and watch, he will turn into that bad leader you're talking about. Why?
Okay.
When the craziest part of this whole thing, I'll tell you, is this, right? You know the saying about insanity. When you do the same thing over and over and over again, right? It's defined as insanity. I don't understand why Africans don't realize they're borderline insane right now. When they talk about, and it's not, and I'm sorry, I'm not, this is Africa, so I have to talk respectfully. I don't want them to feel like I'm being insulted, right? I am part of being African, so I'm not only talking about everybody else. I'm part of this too, right?
Yes.
We're being insane because we're literally upholding systems that have failed us for years and years and years, and we don't even try to think out of the box to change it as a unit, because you cannot have a little faction of people feel like this and think there's going to be change. There's not going to be change if the whole of Africa does not wake up. If we all don't wake up, like imagine like a bunch of Africans just wake up to the truth, like what we've been doing for years is not working out, and let's go a different direction. These things will change. Look, if I have somebody who is president, I'm going to say this again, right? And this is just to show economics, right?
Right.
I have this president, he's of this certain ethnic group. He gets into presidency. First thing, we have different ethnic groups in this nation. How am I going to trust this guy that's from this other ethnic group? You cannot 100% trust him, right? Because of you guys might be rivals. Even if you have the one or two ethnic groups that are your friends, there's always the ethnic group that you have a stereotype against, right? You always have this type of view them this way, right? You're gonna start being what's the word? Paranoid about them, suspicious of them, right? So those ones you're gonna marginalize, right? And then the people you're gonna put around you in your circle, your cabinet, right, is gonna be your ethnic group. Because
you trust them, you understand them. Yeah.
Exactly. And then what end up happening now in Africa is this, right? We literally have political parties that are run by ethnic group. You know what I mean? Political party is supposed to be by ideology. We're supposed to be, I'm democratic. I'm part of the Democrats. I want more government. I want more government. I'm part of the Democrats. I want less government. I'm part of the Republicans. It's not I am Yoruba, so I'm part of this party. I am Igbo, so I'm part of this party. I am Nuer, so I'm part of this. No, it doesn't work like that. But if you look at Liberia, Sierra Leone, that's what happened. If you look at Nigeria, that's what happens.
Even in South Sudan, that's what's happening now, because there's a group.
Africa.
Yeah, there's a group called the Jang Council of Elders, and it's a group of Dinka elders that have essentially controlled the country, and they see the Nuer as competition. So this was one of the reasons why they killed the Nuer, and all the resources, all the vast majority of scholarships, 80% of them go to the Dinka, and there's 64 different ethnic groups. So 80% will go. So there'll be like 8 Dinka guys, 2 Nuer guys, and then no one else from any of the other ethnic groups.
Those are the token guys. Those are the token
guys.
The token guys, those are the ones who, first of all, they have to act right. They have to fall in line, right? Because if they start caping for their own ethnic group, they're kicking them out of there, right? And so they have to they have to act right. They're gonna look like traitors to people of their ethnic group, number one. And then for the ethnic group who's ruling, right, that is their claim to fame. That is, I am diverse.
Right.
I don't discriminate.
So they can say that look, we're not discriminating. The country's good. Look, there are some Nuer guys here too. So we're not. Yes, okay. So then the average person doesn't realize what's going on. So then the average person thinks, hey, South Sudan is good. We're fine. There's no problems. But really, it's setting up one group to win and another group to lose always.
Exactly. And the group that's always winning, they're always friends with the colonizing countries. They always friends. The colonizing countries and them will be like this. So you will notice they're always going to London. They're always going to Paris. They're always going somewhere. They're always getting awards. They're always one-on-one with those countries, because these are the people who facilitate them getting the resources. These are the people who facilitate them moving and doing certain things in your country with impunity. Let me tell you, the British are probably the best covert artists in this world. I can't lie to you, because see, you don't hear no British massacre in Africa.
No,
like,
no,
you don't hear nothing.
Good point. Yeah,
but the amount of massacring they do. You see, me, I got personal gripe with the British because of, and you're from Sudan too. Like,
yeah.
I have personal gripe with them. So I studied their tactics. What they do is they have proxy warriors. They have proxy fighters. They use other people from that country, right, to attack people from that country. Now, when you now look at it, it's just like in America when they tell you black on black crime is high.
Right.
You're not going to look at it like, oh, there's something going on. No, you're going to say, brother's killing brother. Right? You're not going to think about it deeply like, oh, because it's only us who are the Africans who see the ethnic groups and the differences that know there are differences. If a European is watching the news and he said, oh, they will say in South Sudan, these people shoot these people. They're going to say, oh, these people are the same country, black people. Why are they doing that to each other? You see? And that's how the British work. They work through other people. They're token people. They're token ethnic group. And that token ethnic group will now take out their mission. And this is even the same thing that happened with that transatlantic slave trade. But sometimes because I've read so much about it, right? But it's so bad now that even when you want to say the truth, they have found a way to say that they will find a way to call you discriminatory for saying the truth of what actually happened.
You're a bad person for saying what actually happened. So now you're silenced. Okay.
So I'm silenced. I'm scared of getting canceled, right? If I want to talk about it even on my TikTok platform, I can't, right? Because, and I know a lot of people who beg me every day, tell us, we want to know, right? And it's like, I used to do it. When I first had my TikTok account, I was radical. Like, I wanted people to just know the truth. Whatever I read, I'll even bring the books. I'll be showing them. But I realized, they were cutting my account, man. They would censor me for weeks. Like, they would just shadow ban me or suspend me. So, I had to find a better way to send out my message, right? So now I kind of send out my message like I do it in a more subtle way. Now I can't go into some details, right? But that's why I have my YouTube channel where I feel like, especially when I'm done with my board exams and stuff, I'm going to start going into details about certain things because there are a lot of things us Africans, we don't know. Like in Nigeria, they took history out of the school curriculum.
The history is not taught in the school curriculum.
They don't teach history. They don't teach history. Before they used to teach history, they skewed history the way they wanted you to learn it, right? But then lately, us Africans, we just started going crazy on our history. But we're going to the books that the Europeans wrote. We don't care about what Africans are trying to, these older Africans are trying to brainwash us with lies or whatever. No, we're going to the sources and we're seeing stuff happening. And they're like, oh, no, we can't promote this. So they're literally taking it out the books.
You've made an interesting point there where you said older Africans. Maybe this will resonate. But with this group, for instance, among the Nuer people, a lot of the young people are saying, look, we should remove ourselves from this confusion that is South Sudan. There's just too many people. We're going to be constantly fighting, and then we're never going to be able to catch up with the rest of the world. We should take our land, and we should just form a Nuer state like our great-grandparents used to do, except this time with modern technology, we'll develop a modern state. And then the ones who resist this are the old people.
It's the old people.
Why is that? Can you touch on that? Why is it that the old are resisting this? And so it seems right now it's not just a Nuer thing. So you've seen it in the rest of Africa. Why is that? Why is it that the old resist this and the young see it to be the right thing?
See the old in Africa. This is the problem with Africans. This is the deepest, and when I talk about Africans here, I'm not talking about diasporans. Usually when I talk about African, I talk about all of us. I try to include everybody. But now this one, I'm talking specifically of Africans. And that's where I think us as Africans, we need to learn from the diasporan Africans, right? And by diasporan Africans, I don't mean, I mean, Black American, Jamaican, these other kind of people, kind of Africans, I mean.
Right.
See, African people, we're too scared. We are too scared. African people, we are too scared. Too scared. Comfortability and comfort zone. If we find something that's comfortable, we just want that till we die. Like if something just feels a little comfortable, not necessarily stable, because there's nothing that's stable in this, right? But it's just a feeling of familiarity and comfortability. They would just take it. They never want to break out of the and it's colonization that caused this. Now, if you want to see a different country in Africa that's not like that, look at South Africa. They don't play that. They are one of the rare ones. Maybe Zimbabwe too, because they've had their own craziness too.
Exactly.
But these are the two ones who, you see, their own experience was not colonization. It was a little different. Maybe Zimbabwe, but like with South Africa, you see our apartheid and all that. They're different a little bit, right? That's why they're able to punch back, like fight back a little bit, right? But see, the other Africans, us that got colonized, we don't do that. We just don't want trouble, please. You know, like in Nigeria, they will say, wait till 2023, new president. And the new one will come and do the same thing.
This is exactly something that people say, because when the young people say that, look, we need to just take out our country, especially during the genocide, the war in South Sudan from 2013 to 2016, 17. Some people would say, look, we just need to leave. And others said, no, wait until the election. Wait until the election, then we're going to remove Salva Kiir. Wait until 2015. 2015 came about, and the guy extended his term for another however long. So there's always wait for the next election. Oh, when tomorrow comes, things will be better. And things never get better.
Yes, that's the African disease, idealism. That's the African disease. We are so idealistic to the point that we don't mind being hurt. We don't mind suffering in the process, but we still look forward to that idealistic, one day it's going to happen, but then you die, it never happens. See, the Europeans, they're not like that. See, they will fight and die for their child to be in a happier place. African things, just because he puts his child in a safe house, right, and they kind of seem comfortable or whatever, he's not thinking about his future generations. What are they going to be like? Let's talk about Nigeria and the debt that we're in. My generation, what are we going to have to do with Chinese debt? What do we have to do with that? We're going to inherit all that. Do you see what I'm saying? They don't care. They don't think in terms of lineage that far. Maybe the immediate lineage or whatever, but they're not. The older ones, they just, and it's trauma too. It's trauma. Like, if you grew up, for example, in the Biafra War, and you saw the amount of carnage that occurred, whatever, you're gonna be scared of another war. Like, I even think like that war was done to make people scared of it. Because if you talk to anybody who went through it, oh my God, the first thing they say, you don't know what happened. If you guys knew what happened, you would not be talking. When the president of Nigeria threatened the people on Twitter, that's why he used to threaten them. If you guys knew what happened, you guys would not be saying this right now. If you guys know what we did to them, you guys would not be.
Okay.
Go.
Yes, we've noticed this too in the war, the genocide of 2013. Many Nuer pointed out that what this Dinka regime is doing is to kill Nuer people, and then in our language we say "dwai dwal," which means to beat fear into you. So the idea is to beat fear into you so that you never ever think about going against it again.
Course learning. Yep.
So the same thing happened in Nigeria during the Biafran War.
Yes. Like I've heard so many accounts, and it's always from fear and this is what happened to us kind of thing. And I don't blame them because it's traumatic, right? It's very traumatic. Like that I kind of understand, right? But like I still really do believe that if it was Europeans, even though they went through that and they didn't get what they want, even Middle Easterns, they will
keep trying.
They will go to they don't care. But us Africans, something that the colonization of something did to us, we just docile. We're just, and this is how we're seeing our continent go. Like now and I'm not against anybody religiously or anything, but when we have a non-African nation now in the African Union as sitting as a what do they call it? sitting on the side to listen in on important meetings for the next 20 years. This is what we're saying is a problem. You see, it's a problem. Why, if we want to be honest, okay, so why is Haiti not in it?
Yes, why is Haiti? Why is Jamaica not a member of the African Union?
Exactly.
Why should a non-African country be able to sit in on the African Union meetings? That's a very good question.
It's a very good question because honestly speaking, right, with our relationship with all these Western nations, or whatever you may call them, there's never been a relationship that's not exploited. That's not been an exploiting kind of relationship. So you're not going to now sit down here and tell me that out of all the relations that we've had over the years, all of a sudden you just want to sit in on African Union meetings because of you have the best intention for Africa. No, you want to know what's happening.
Right.
You want to know our deep darkest secrets so you can use it against us. You want more United Nations votes. So when people are voting for you, because African nations vote for Palestine every time. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the reason why certain things is happening. And it's like our leaders, you're not going to trust them because they're corrupt. They're corrupt. But us, the Africans, look at South Africa. They don't play that. They don't want them in Zimbabwe. They said, or Namibia. Them in Namibia. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And, everybody's scared of being called that word that they won't challenge these people. No. It's not about hating the religion or hating the people. It's about loving my people and my continent to ask you, why don't you have, why are you coming here? Why don't you go join the EU? Why don't you go join Arab League? Why are you coming to African Union?
Right. Or if you come here, then there should be an African country in the Arab League.
Exactly. And even the ones they say Sudan is part of the Arab League, see, North Sudan
is an Arab country.
It's Arab country.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's an Arab country. So that's the thing about it. And this is the thing. Even Somalis, nowadays the new generation, they don't claim that Arab League stuff. Like maybe they're all just right. But if you see any videos of people talking about Arab League and they call Somalia, go in the comments. You will see Somalis getting mad. We're not Arab. We don't speak Arab. And that's what you see. Like, we're embracing who we are. This young generation, we're not cowering to anybody. After colonization in Nigeria, everybody had to sound British. They had to speak what is called the Queen's English. Like, you hear presidents of Nigeria back in the day, if you watch the old videos, and they sound so British, right? Because of our accent is like kind of looked down upon. But if you were to hear an Italian accent or French accent, it's like, oh my God. But they like, or if you hear, another Western accent, it's like, oh my God. No, we have to start. My accent is beautiful. And my accent is African. And it's, we have to start cherishing our own thing. Because nobody else is going to cherish it for us.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is that it's not about hating you. It's about loving what I am.
Exactly.
So this leads to my next question then. I like the idea of ethnic states. I like the idea that if you're a Jaw, that you should have your own country and that you should be able to take your resources to develop your people. And one of those things is to develop your language, your architecture, everything that is part of your civilization that you bring to the table of human civilization. And if I'm Nuer, I should be able to take the resources from my land, to develop my land, to develop my people, to develop my architecture, my language to a high level, just as the Europeans did, just as the Asians do. So I'm wondering, what do you think about that? In your view, do you think that that a lot of young Africans are starting to move through this view, to this way of thinking? Because if you value what you are, then you should be able to use the resources in your land to develop yourself, to increase that thing that you value. So do you think that in your experience that a lot of young Africans are moving towards this, that we should have more ethnic states, even if we do have cooperation between ethnic groups?
Okay, so this question is actually very layered for me. It's a very good one though. I'll say this. a lot of young Africans are going in this direction. Now, are we the majority? No, I wouldn't say that yet. Why? It's because of this idea has never been put out there by young people as much as like me even putting it out there was kind of like it was kind of like, let's see how this goes. And this is what I mean. See, for years, us Africans, we see everything in Africa is brainwashing. There's no other way to say it but that. Like, so everything in Africa is brainwashing, right? Somebody who has been brainwashed for years, and it's not their fault. It's not your fault. Media brainwashes you. What you hear brainwashes you, right? Like, for example, this is what I mean by brainwashing. If the average African that hears me talk about ethnic nationality, immediately they're going to be repulsed.
They'll call you tribalist or something.
They're going to say you're tribalist. Oh my God, you hate like unity, right? They don't want to hear that. And I've tried talking about it before on Clubhouse. I told the guy, the moment I told the guy, he closed the room.
You closed the room.
He closed the room, and I laughed but it shows me that he has not even been able to think deep enough in that direction because he's been indoctrinated to the place where if someone talks like that, or if I hear sentiment like that, it means hate. It does not mean hate. If anything, it means love, because I am coming from a point of love, and I'm trying to tell you the truth. It's realism, right? Because me and you are not the same ethnic group does not mean me and you are not going to still be brothers.
Right.
Because when it comes down to it, Africa still brings us together as brothers.
Right.
But if I have to worry about my people in terms of ruling and country and resources, you have your resources, your people ruling and country, then we come together as one people, but we still have our autonomous groups, right?
Exactly.
Nobody will be having problems like this. Because this is what the European Union is. Literally what the European Union is. The Germans are German.
Exactly. So there would be like an Ijaw state, a Nuer state, and each would maybe have slightly different industries, and they could trade between one another. People could travel back and forth. But when you left Nuer land and went to Ijaw land, you know that you're speaking that language, that you're doing business in that way, you're following that system. If you leave from Ijaw, you come to Nuer, you know that you're speaking that language, you're doing that system. And that way people respect one another.
That's it. Because it's so funny to me that you see Africans getting mad and talking about, but Africa has so many ethnic groups. How are we going to do it? What? This is not a question. Why do you think we can't do it? Why do people think Africans have limits? The Europeans, did they start counting how many ethnic groups they had before they did that? They tried to make Yugoslavia put a bunch of big ethnic groups together, right?
Absolutely.
The moment they found out it wasn't working, what did they say? Hell no. We have Slovakia, we have Slovenia. Look at how close those two nations are in name. But they're their own separate people, right?
Absolutely.
You have all these countries that were all one together. They said, no, it's not working. So these are things that we even see from history. History repeats itself. So when you have a country like Nigeria with 250 nations, ethnic nationalities, right?
250 ethnic nationalities.
250.
Wow.
Then you now bunch them together and say there's one country.
Wow.
Telling me somebody's not going to feel marginalized?
Yeah. And is there in Nigeria, is there marginalization? Because a lot of times people in the East, we look at Nigeria and we're like, oh, it's developed. They've got money. There's a lot of people there. It's the most populous Black country in the world. So they might not know some of the things that happen in Nigeria. But just in a general way, are there problems in Nigeria, or is it the African honey, African heaven?
Listen, the problems in Nigeria, if I start, I will not finish today. Let's just put it like, if I start right now, I will not finish today. Every single Nigerian knows the problem too. But you still hear some Nigerians who will come and be ignorant and say certain things due to this indoctrination that I'm talking about. But when we talk about ethnic issues, Nigeria is one of the best examples. The best example, South Sudan. Okay, now it's split. South Sudan.
Yeah, South Sudan.
Ethiopia. In my opinion, South Africa is in there, but they also have the layer of race that they deal with as well, because of that. But in there too. And then you come up to the West Africa is Nigeria. There's still other countries, the Casaman in Senegal and other countries too. I mean, in West Africa and all these other nations. But these are examples when you go from corner to corner in Africa. You're seeing that this whole thing, like in Nigeria, for example, I'll tell you that the battles that we have herdsmen. We have herdsmen from certain ethnic groups, right? That are nomads going into ethnic locations who are farmers.
We have the same thing in South Sudan. Herdsmen going from the north, going down into the southern part, and they go and they take the lands of these farmers.
And your cow
they're
is
often
eating my
backed by
food.
the government.
Exactly. Your cow is eating my food.
Exactly.
And you will harm me over a cow. You would do something to me over a cow. I start asking myself, your cow is more important than human life to you. That's what I'm saying. These are the kind of things when we go and tell Europeans and put it on the news, they ask themselves, these people are doing this to each other over cows? Right?
Exactly.
But they don't really of course, because I can't say it's every European, right, that constructed these things, right? It's these elites, even in Europe, who are running their governments and stuff, right? These are the ones who have studied the status quo. If you think that the Prime Minister of England has not studied political science and know what they did to Africans and proud of it, he cannot be the Prime Minister. If you want to be Prime Minister of these countries that have a legacy of all the things they've done to us, you have to read that legacy, understand that legacy, right? And tell yourself, I am proud of my people and where we went to and what we did. Then you could be president of there or prime minister. If you're the type who's like, oh no, I feel so bad of what I did to the Africans or what I did to these people, they will kick you out. So these people have it's without any regrets when they move. You see, they don't have any shame in what they're doing, and that is what's happening in Nigeria. That is what's happening in Sudan, especially with the British led colonies.
Right.
They don't care.
Very subtle. You'll see here, because sometimes people say, and I heard this yesterday. Someone said, if we divide up Africa into more countries than there are now, that we'll have too many countries. But this right here is the square miles of Africa, 11.73 million square miles, and there are 54 countries in Africa. So let me type in the amount of countries in Africa.
54 for that whole mileage.
Exactly. Amount of countries in Africa, just so the people at home can see. 54 African countries today, okay, according to the United Nations. Now, I want us to see something. What is the size of Europe? The size of Europe is 3.931 million miles squared. And that means this part of Europe, even the parts like this that go into Asia, 3.931 million square miles.
We are 8 million more square miles than Europe. Africa is 8 million more square miles than Europe. I hope you guys are seeing this.
Yeah. And now I want to type in how many countries are in Europe. 44 countries in Europe.
Just 10 countries less.
Just 10 countries less. So if we look at the density of countries in Europe, so this is the Europe that they're talking about. This small area there's not even 4 million square miles, has 44 countries.
And that includes Russia. Wow.
Look, yeah.
Wow.
European Russia here. That includes that Russia as well. 44 countries. So that means if we had the same density of countries, in Africa as we do in Europe, that would be 44 times 3.
44
that
times
means
3.
Yeah, so we could have 132 countries.
That is almost the number of countries we have in the world.
Yeah. So Africa, if we would divide it up so that it looks like Europe, we would have 132 countries, and it would still be a place where there'd be enough for everyone.
Wow, you just made me remember something, right? And I believe this all ties in together.
Mm-hmm.
So the map of the world, right? I don't know if you definitely know this, right? Africa has always been skewed, like the size of Africa has always been skewed on the maps of the world, right? So like to the point where Greenland, right, is literally the size of Africa on your conventional map.
Absolutely.
I made notes about the different names of the maps because I studied this. I want to make a video about it down the line, but I forgot the name of the actual convention. But the convention that we use, right? They conveniently perfect. They conveniently right made Africa so small, right? And this is what the average child growing up in your head. You see, I told you everything they do is subtle. It's very subtle. So you don't realize that. So you see, they've mastered psychology to a point of no return. So certain things they do to us psychologically, we don't even realize how deep it is because of how subtle it is. So in your mind, you're not even realizing that your mind has registered that Africa is just small.
Right.
Just by looking at the map, because you look at it at scale, right? You look over here, Europe. You look over here is North America, South America. But you just look at it quick glance, right? But in our heads, Africa has been made so small.
Right.
But then look at the picture you brought up now, showing every single, every pretty much big country.
Exactly. So actually, if you look at, this is France right here, right? And if you look at France, South Sudan is actually 30,000 square miles bigger, and France is one of Europe's biggest countries.
See that? So, look at France right there.
This right here. And then this is all of Eastern Europe. This is all of India.
See India?
This is China.
See China?
China. China is fits in Africa. And the United States fits here, Germany, right Spain.
Here. Look at Spain. Like literally all these countries. And then even the UK is in Madagascar.
The UK, exactly. It's just a little bit bigger than Madagascar, the UK. So that means that, and we only have 54 countries in there.
We have 54.
So there should be way more countries in Africa than just 54. There should be at least 132.
At least 132. And it's actually going to be more than 132. And honestly speaking, see, with this that we've shown, the landmass, right, it should not be a shocker to anybody. Listen, Africans, we have to start looking at ourselves in a bigger light. We have to look at ourselves with more pride, because a part of it is us looking at ourselves as something lower where we cannot fathom the fact that, oh my God, why we have, like, how can we manage so many countries? Are we managing the ones that we have?
Right.
That are small, that are huge right now?
Exactly. We're not managing the ones that we have. And the problem seems to be too that, take a look at the Congo. Let's talk about the Congo for a little bit. The Congo, it seems to me that a lot of the people are uneducated because of the lack of development, constant fighting, and the landmass is bigger than all of Western Europe.
Yes.
So now you have a small population of people trying to govern a country the size of Western Europe. And so their resources are being taken. So it's too big for them to govern.
It's too big. And that is, see, that is the whole point of this thing. This is the whole point of this thing. Because, see, when you have such a big landmass, put one government system running it, right? This is what happens. Everything goes haywire. When everything goes haywire, we could slip in through the back, take resources. This is literally why Africa is the way it is. Let's go to Nigeria. Right? You see Nigeria, the way it goes, you see people fighting, people having problems. Every day you go on the news, you might hear this is happening, that is happening, right? When it comes down to it, I'm from the Niger Delta. Go to the south of Niger Delta. Go look at my waters. Go look at where I grew up. Where I used to. I mean, where where I used to go every Christmas, my village, because I lived in Lagos, the capital cities. Africa is urbanized too. That's another thing why they should stop calling us tribal, because we're not like always.
Exactly.
Most of us live in cities, and then we go to our villages, when we want to go for Christmas, for whatever. But they make it seem like we're just all, whatever. But you go to the Niger Delta.
So where's the Niger Delta?
Oh, you see the south of the south of the south. You see where you see Port Harcourt? Right by the Atlantic, that's the Niger Delta. Like that whole area in the south of Nigeria, that's where all the oil is. That's what.
So this area here.
Yes, this area. I was actually born in Port Harcourt, right there. Right.
Okay.
That is the city, like the oil city. That is the oil city, and that's the Niger Delta. You go to our deltas, you see the way it's all broken up, the land, and there's water all over. I should show people. It's broken up and there's water all over, right? Those waters, if you go to them, the creeks and the waters, it's all black.
It's been polluted from the oil.
Polluted. Shell has destroyed us. Destroyed our land. They don't give us anything for it though, but they've destroyed it.
We are starting to experience the same thing in the western part of our land. Where we actually originated from, the western part of Nuer land, the exploitation of the oil is so bad that children are actually starting to be born with deformities.
That's what started happening. That's what started happening in our area. And then, after years and years and years of you having oil like that on your land, you even see people starting to have superstitions with the oil, talking about, oil, like you see people drinking oil. Talking about it heals some ailments and it helps some diseases. That's what you guys will have coming because of you're so used to the oil around you that you will see people making. Even in Congo, they do this because of see what happens is these people don't come to clean up after they spill stuff. Look, the BP gas thing that happened in Louisiana is because they were on top of BP. Right, British Petroleum. If they were not on top of them, even till this day, there's a spill there that the Gulf that cannot be cleaned. Right. They're trying to burn it off. They can't burn it off. Now there was a guy called, and everybody should look him up. His name is Ken Saro-Wiwa.
Oh yes, I know of him. I remember in the 90s what he went through.
And he was talking the same talk we were talking. They hung him. He was hung.
I read his letter to his to one of his children. I think one of his last letters. Very sad. Very
emotional. Like, and he's from my area. He's from the Niger Delta. He's Ogoni. Like, he's one of my personal heroes because of he fought for his people. He's like, let Shell come and clean up. You know what Shell did? They paid the government because it was a military government. You know how military dictatorships work. They don't need to go to court. They just set him up, executed him. This is how it works. Look at his son, man.
Yeah,
man. His son's speech about it was so emotional, man. Man.
Yeah, it was. So here was a man who was just standing up for the rights of his people, and fearless too.
Yes.
And they killed him. Almost as if to prevent his people from having like a better standard of life.
Oh yes. Listen, there's certain, and this is the reason why Africans don't talk about certain things. See, there's certain things when you start talking about it and it starts catching fire, get ready. Get ready. If you start talking and people's eyes start opening and they start following you to listen to what you're saying because it makes sense, get ready. It happens in America too, but it happens in Africa too. Very much. It's just that our news and our things about us tend to be thrown under the rug, and it's only Africans that know it. They don't make it international, right? Because if it was more international, like a lot more people would know, maybe a lot more awareness would be there. But I'll say this also. Africans have to start valuing themselves first, because when they do, these things don't even need to go to Europe or to America, to anywhere for people to know. We will know it, and we will all together come and say something about it. And this is where we have to start going as a younger generation. Like I said, I kind of sometimes give up on the old generation.
Mm.
The ones who I feel like they will never change their mindset.
Mm.
Because when I put progressive African videos online, it's not younger people who come and fight me or dispute
It's
me.
the older people, eh? So
It's the old people.
It's the old people who fight you. Okay. Wow.
It bothers me because it's like, first of all, I'm African. I'm not gonna fight an older person. You're older
Yep.
than me. We have respect, like
Yeah.
I have my respect, but like, come on. Sometimes I have to tell them, like, you are the problem.
Mm.
You are the problem. Open your mind, because you cannot tell me you're living comfortably.
Mm.
You just can't.
Okay.
At least your people, maybe you personally, but your whole people, you cannot say they're all living comfortably. You should care about your people. It's not just you and yourself alone.
Right.
This is not African culture. We all
Right.
care about our people.
So this is actually, so some of these old people, by not caring about the future, they're actually being anti-African.
Wow, you just put that so perfectly. That is literally what they're being, anti-African. Fela Kuti's son said something. He said this about Nigerians. In our head, we are Europeans.
Ah.
He literally said about Nigeria, we're Europeans, and then we're Nigerians, and then we're our ethnic groups. This is backwards.
Mm.
You should be your ethnic group first. And then anything else you want to be, which is delusion to me, be it. But what you should be first is your ethnic group. Now, some people, they're going to say they're their religion first. Listen, you're your ethnic group first.
Right.
Your religion is going to be there. You should not even be comparing your ethnic group to your religion.
Right, exactly. It's the same God that made everyone. So
you should,
yeah, so you should just accept your ethnic group first. So I should be Nuer first, and then any other identity I have is secondary to that identity.
Exactly. The only people that we like was when we're dealing with the diasporans, then we're black. You see what I'm saying? But in Africa, even the diasporans, they do their DNA test. They say, I'm from this ethnic group. They claim the ethnic group.
Right.
So why you that you know your own ethnic group, you come here and you're acting like you're a mumu? Sorry, you know. You just act like you don't know what's happening. Well, yeah. I guess you don't know what's happening, but it's time to open your eyes. It's time for us to open our eyes, please. Please, it's imperative.
Absolutely. I've got a couple more questions. Yeah. So second last question. With all that's going on, is imperialism developing? Like in some of these African countries, are there groups of people? Are there ethnic groups that are controlling everything? Are they sort of setting up an empire within some of these countries?
The companies?
Oh no, within some of these African countries, are there ethnic groups that grab all the power and then controlling everything? Are there imperialists within some of these African countries?
Listen, this most of Africa has let me really break this down for you real quick, because well, from what I've studied, from what I've seen, right, this is how Africa is. First of all, Africa's problem, a lot of people don't think it's a problem. You know why? It's because of this. I think I've kind of said it, but now I'm going to say it really direct, right? There's people who are the same color in the same country. The whole world, Europe, Asia, all these places, they think in terms of, they have their own ethnicities, right? But when they think of Africa, they think of us as just black. They don't think of us as, this person is Kikuyu. This person is, no. They don't, they could care less, okay? They don't care about that. So what happens now is, if a European man or an Asian man or somebody out there is watching the news and he says, oh, Nigeria, this happened and 100 people were shot dead, or massacre happened in Tigray or something like that, they just say, oh, all the black people are just killing themselves. Right. You see what I'm saying? But what is actually happening in Africa is that we have some ethnic groups who we can classify as the oppressing ethnic group. Okay? This oppressing ethnic group will oppress everybody else in that nation that is not maybe part of their ethnic group. Sometimes they even oppress some of the people in their ethnic group that is against what they're doing, but they oppress everybody else, right? But the outsider is not going to look at it and say, "Oh, there's a racial." Let me use the word race, but of course, it's not the modern definition of race, right? But the Europeans, when they first came to Africa, were calling all of us separate races.
Right, exactly.
They were calling all of us separate races. They will call a Nuer man a separate race from an Ijaw man. This is how they were writing it in their books, right?
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
They make this arbitrary word race with skin color and stuff, right? And so now I can't even use the word race because people will start saying, "What do you mean? They were all black." But guess what? No. For example, there's certain ethnic groups in Nigeria who are starting to take over. They're not originally in Nigeria. So ethnic groups are even migrating into different countries, right? They migrate into different countries and then take over those countries.
And take over the land of the people who live there.
Exactly. Right? And you have to realize something that's really, really crucial to this problem that we have right now, right? The United Nations has, I know you know all this, right? They have a resolution where it's like, if a group of people came and took this land right now, and then you guys broke into a civil war, right? Now the United Nations comes and makes that line where it's like we're separating this ethnic group from this ethnic group, or these people from this people, right? To cause peace. Whoever is on whatever land, it's your land now. That's it.
Wow. So that way, the original ethnic groups are losing their land.
Exactly. So if you today pick up weapons and say, "I'm fighting you, get off my land," if the United Nations comes and makes that line and says, "Okay, this is the line, this is your area, this is your area," done. This is how it's going to be now forever. So what is actually was my land for centuries or whatever is gone, is your land now. See, we don't have any protections for our rights as Africans. But if Yugoslavia want to do that, if Croatia want to duke it out with these other countries, they could duke it out. All of us will come here and talk about it like history. If Africans do it, you're a tribalist and you're a problem. This is the issue. They don't care about us, and we don't care about us, frankly.
But it seems like things are starting to change. My last question.
Yes.
If we don't divide Africa up into states that make more sense for us, like, for instance, states, peoples that are large enough and that want to have their own state and be independent, like, for instance, the Nuer people, or the Ijaw people, or any other group of people that has their territory and they wish to take their nation and make it into a nation state. If we don't restructure Africa and we continue with these 54 states, is it sustainable? Will we prosper in the 21st century? Or in the 21st century going into the 22nd century? What will life be like for our children? Is it good or is it bad? What do you think is the prospect? Is any of this sustainable? Because from the way you've described it, it sounds very unsustainable. It sounds like we're just going to keep doing worse and worse because our population will increase. You and I will have children. Your population will increase. And then those other groups of people will also have children. Their population will increase. And the ethnic tension will be there. And it seems like if the ethnic tension is there, now you don't just have 5 million or 10 million fighting one another. What happens when you have 100 million people versus 100 million people? So is any of this sustainable? If we don't change our borders now, how will things be in the 21st and 22nd century?
Okay. I'll say this very directly. As it is right now, we should kiss Africa goodbye. If we don't make changes, right, it's only a matter of time. And this is what I mean. See, us Ijaw people, when the Europeans came, we are the water people, as you see. We're the people of the water. So when they come on the boats, who are the first people they're going to see? The people of the water, right? My language is called Kalabari. Go and look for kids my age who speak Kalabari. You cannot find them. It's very few. Maybe the ones who live there. Maybe the ones who live in the village there. Most of us were losing our language. Me, myself, I refused. I couldn't speak my language for the longest. I had to start fighting, forcing myself to learn it because I had this inner thing where it's like, I'm going to lose it. My parents did not speak it to me.
You have to do it yourself.
Yeah, I had to force them to speak it to me, because when what they tend to do is they don't teach you from young, and then when you try to learn, they'll make fun of you for learning, right? Because
that happens among us. That happens among us. Some young people who maybe don't know Nuer, they try to speak it when they're a little bit older, and then people make fun of them. Exactly. Then how is somebody supposed to learn if you make fun of them?
Exactly.
Right? And it's usually not all of them, but some of the old people.
It's the old people. And it's the same old people who didn't teach us when we're young. That is the funny part. See, I'm just starting with language, right? Yeah. Because this is actually not just a language thing, because it's going to actually get worse and worse. What is going to happen ultimately in Africa is, for example, you can look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia. You see the way that, listen, TPLF, I'm not with them. Okay, I will never support TPLF as an organization. How they treated Ethiopians over the years, right? But anybody could come and argue with me, right? You will never tell me that what TPLF did, all those Tigrans there, they deserve what they got in that place.
That's right. Yeah. Even if you disagree with the TPLF, the killing of the Tigrayans, the average civilian, that should never happen. If they want to go after somebody, then just go after the politicians. Don't go after the women and children.
Yeah. Go after the corrupt politicians. See, when you start doing ethnic cleansing, it's because you want your people to be supreme in the whole place. And then the rest of the people, and that's what's going to happen in Africa over time. Do you see what happened in Rwanda? You see what happened in Rwanda? You would think that, Kagame has come now, he has made a law. Nobody ever bring the H word and the T word, right? Never use those words again. Go and I made a video on Rwanda. I had Rwandans inboxing me. You will be shocked.
Rwanda is Tutsi. It's Tutsi culture now. It's Tutsi kingdom.
And then they're the ones who are Hutu, right? Who feel some type of way deep. They're writing me. I'm like, yo, this shit is not done. This feeling is not done.
Yeah.
So if we are over here pretending like it's done, it's not done. And this is what is going to translate all over Africa. There's always going to be this underlying tension. Then one day it's not going to be underlined anymore. Then we hear news. Not going to be underlined over here. Then we hear news.
This is an important point. I want to make sure people hear it. So what you're saying is that you have Hutus inboxing you who are not happy with what the Tutsis are doing. So there's still underlying anger there.
Yes. I was shocked because, after what happened in 1994, in my head, I was like, there's no way. Like, they had to have fixed relationships at this point. That whole African idealism. See, I'm also guilty, right? I'm also guilty like that. I also kind of have that thing because it's all kind of innate to us at this point. We kind of have to unlearn it. Right. But literally, I used to think that, this can't happen. Like, it happened. It was really, no, they still hate, like, some of them hate Kagame, right? They're not even from Congo. Like, if the Congolese hate him is one thing. They're from Rwanda. They hate him. They're sending me videos that's exposing him, like, they still hate them. So ultimately, you can now come out here and talk all this stuff that, we're one people, we love each other, but you're lying because you know the deep truth. And that's what some African countries do. All of us, let me not even say it. Because even Nigerians, if I was to come in, when I start talking about the truth of things happening in Nigeria, you see some Nigerians, why are you talking about that on public platform for everybody to know? What? Are you serious? They can open Google and see what's happening. I can't talk about it because I have to lie and say Africa, everything there is perfect. No, it's not.
Yeah. Well, I have Nigerian friends anyway, so we hear some of these things, and you would have a Nuer friend or something. So we all know our problems. So
it's crazy.
Oh, so you don't think it's sustainable at all? You think that we are headed like for an explosion, and if we don't change things, we should say goodbye to Africa, goodbye to our lands, our cultures.
Because listen, when you lose your culture, you lost your land, you lost everything. So see, if you lose your language, okay, a good example. And actually, this is a good one. One day I would love to speak to you about this because this is brewing all over TikTok. It's starting to become a thing. But let's talk about them. Like, I'm going to use the modern Egyptians, for example.
Yes.
Okay. See, now modern Egyptians, they will fight with any black person or African who knows history because of they just the moment they hear black in Egypt, it's like an uproar. It's like a war, right? Like, we're not talking about you, right? Because of you, we know that you're a mixture of Romans, British, Greek, Turks, Mamluks. You're a mixture of all these people, right? You're the only people in your country that speak a pharaonic language are the Nubians.
Right.
Okay? But you're going to come here and start arguing with me. Guess what? You cannot tell me nothing because you don't even have your heritage. You don't speak the language you used to speak. You speak Arabic. This would be Africa. We'll only speak everybody else's language. Then fighting over our identity that we don't know because we didn't keep it. Because if we kept it, we will know it. Even through our language, we will know who we are. But because now we don't know who we are, we speak in another person's language. We over here all over the place, just fighting just to be. I'm just Egyptian. Egyptians is not a different, like, it's not a race. It's not a race classification. Let's talk about who the ancient Egyptians were. They were black people.
Yeah, that's obvious. People. Yes. You can go to any museum and you see it. It's obvious.
They were people who moved through the Nile River, Nilotic people. So when you come over here and you start, like, I have a guy who he wants to actually argue with me on my YouTube channel today, but I'm probably not doing it today. That's too much. But he wants to, like, Arab guy, Egyptian guy. He's passionate about it. And I'm telling him, like, bro, like, you're coming at it from an anti-black perspective to begin with. And you are not giving me any substantial proof. Just the fact that, shut up, you're don't use this black thing on us because you don't know who you are. Yeah. And that's literally how we will be. We won't know who we are. And when we don't know who we are, anybody can tell us what we are. And that's literally what is going to be in Africa. Like, our resources or whatever, of course, it's already gone. So if we don't switch things up, we will not get it back. So now is our culture and who we are that will be following with that. Instead of us taking back our power, everything will go away with the power that we already lost. That's literally how Africa is going to be.
Wow. Thank you. Well, you've all heard this. I'm going to speak to Naath now. But Hialing, Nuer, Mayala de Jay. Michikona come out and way down a man. But tell me, Charlie Nuer, me better. To the other Lanega Latkana the rise, Tammy Chiakalinka Jay, Chi Berarto the Bo. Kaka to walk a Nigeria, to walk a Kaneka. Near no Lear than Kuala Camra, Comundian, Tammy Wadian Yar. God, but Yaga Dabago, didn't to walk rain worry, to walk a Kaway the Bo and Jay. Kashima Yalaro, here Mari Michikona come out and way down. A child with yet ping, Mibana right to nothing. Tung na the me begin. Niem point kun bo be jud ben by liab nien gob duna me dong begin. Young kia blong or lane di char. Here mare na boka jen talk a me. Here me talk ni jen kan work rada but talk a ka Africa ke lu. Nanager. A corner come out and way down. Jala be ni di de dong dwal na mo cha joje dame. Here jen jang ben adal. Kajur diana de South Sudan bo go ram and guade. When Biangajo, me jin wad me no get rajame, chi chung jin carado. Mojing wade jay, much bentino. When the African ideal take a core and a man. Now me did here me taught, a jicha benping. Lawyer tell Jajan good and guardian program down a wallet, and Biauni and a mal, go to Kelga, could be go to Kel. Get Nuer nation. Jora did a man, Maladundano, Qualichola Nuer. Corner you, I walk a 1 yam. Chachuran go to Najbo. Naka con la did it, la nady bombuam. Wrong con go there, con way down. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching the show. Jay, I want to thank you so much. I hope this is not the last one. I think we have to keep this going all across the continent. We have to not be afraid. What's the point of living in fear only to die? We're not going to live in fear anymore.
You're going to die regardless.
We're going to die regardless.
You're going to die regardless.
So let's live in bravery. Thank you so much. I hope we can talk again. But thank you for all the time you spent. It was a lot of information, and I hope that people can watch this, and maybe you can share it with your friends so they see that it's the same thing that's happening across the continent. And then we, as young Africans, everyone has to hold on to their identity, the identity of their forefathers, their foremothers, and the land that you're given, your culture, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make us all Africans. I want to hear that the Ijo people are alive and well, and their culture is there, and their language is there. So, thank you. If anybody else is hearing this, please let them know that we're
sorry.
Yes.
A lot of people are asking me you're at, like they want to know, they want to follow you, like they want to know where they can follow you, like, you know, if you want to give us any information about yourself, like in terms of like, you know, your usernames for Instagram, whatever platform you want people to follow you on, or your video, you know, where they can find it.
Sure, certainly. They can find my videos on my Facebook. You all check. And Instagram is the same. And also, if you join Clubhouse, you'll be able to find me there. You can follow me on that as well. Twitter, my Twitter handle is also y'all check. So you'll be able to find me easily. So otherwise, on Facebook, feel free to send me a message. I love these conversations. And one day, like not one day too far in the future, right? But actually one day soon, maybe even the coming year, I would like for us to, this is one of my aims, I would like for us to have a true Pan-African conference somewhere here in the US where we discuss these things, where we have young people from all over the continent, and we discuss the need for us to restructure our borders along ethnic lines to preserve our languages and our cultures and who we are. So if anyone is interested in this and you hear, please bring your expertise, bring your expertise, your knowledge about how to do any of these things. Send me an inbox Jay, and let's get this thing going.
Let's get it rolling. This is beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. All right.
lang ni ke we con jikan jang we con jikan Nuer we con lan mar telara mitan Nuer we away candinai urur away laka nirol chendananga amulal malona obe adoran lengaje away candinai urur away laka nirol chendananga amulal malona chieng one con ay akwang one con kan ya Nuer tore la kan ting aboran keling chanong non de Nueran gel pinye anda ke chieng one con ay akwang one con kan ya Nuer tore la kan ting aboran keling chanong non de Nueran gel pinye chieng one con ay akwang one con kan ya Nuer tore la kan ting aboran keling chanong non de Nueran gel pinye chieng wara ngai ko pom de we kan war kan go cha de on yang de jang war ma cha dewan yang na janong warma ayo jeng wara ngai ka pom de we kan kwar kan go cha dewan